Pops Mensah-Bonsu, former NBA player of Ghanaian descent. Currently, I'm the president of minor league operations for the New York Knicks. Yeah, I got introduced to basketball by my dad. My older brother, started playing basketball late and was able to leverage that into getting a scholarship to the United States. And so my dad saw it as an opportunity for the rest of his kids to have an opportunity to change their life. And so that's when I started playing basketball at 12, and then I moved to the US at 16, where my basketball story kind of began. Well, what it's like to have that diverse experience of playing, whether it is in the USA or playing in Europe in the Olympics. I didn't have the unique opportunity to play in Africa yet, but yeah, that experience really molded me as not only a man, but even what I'm doing today as an executive. When I got exposure to these different cultures, seeing how basketball is represented in a number of different countries, you know, and not only on the playing field, but seeing the culture in these different spaces, it helped create a foundation in me to want to emulate that in my home country of Ghana. So that, you know, a lot of people often look at people who are journeymen. You know, I played 10 years and I played for 17 different teams. People often look at that in a negative light, but that wealth of experience made me the man I am today and allowed me to have that global mindset when it came to developing the sport in Ghana. Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's not often amplified, the transformative abilities of sport. I think exposure to sport allows you to become competitive, showcase your competitive nature. It builds determination. And, you know, most of all, it helps you with leadership. It unearthed something that was inside of me that I didn't know I possessed. And it wasn't until I played a sport that I realized I could be a leader. And then when I retired, it was a smooth transition for me to get into a position of leadership. I just used my experience, my journey as a professional athlete, and carried over those qualities into the executive world, whether it's discipline, being on time, being able to work well with others, and also being able to lead others too. So that conversion and that transition into life after basketball was definitely very seamless. It was difficult because I wanted to play still, but at the same time, being able to leverage the characteristics that I had and excel as an executive have been all due in part to sports. My vision for sports in Ghana and on the continent overall is that holistically, we look at it from a different lens. You know, part of our discussion today was viewing sports and live entertainment as asset classes, you know, ways to generate revenue with these economies. You know, speaking of Ghana specifically, you know, I want to develop the sport, but also have love of country. And I also want to be able to see my country thrive and have a great economy and, you know, see those who look like me have opportunities. So, you know, we're putting infrastructure in place and highlighting how sports and live entertainment can impact that infrastructure. And then with that infrastructure comes economic growth, comes tourism, comes visitors, it increases jobs. So having that holistic approach and the understanding that sports and live entertainment, when you pair them with infrastructure, strategic infrastructure, you can really create some economic change. Changing the mindset. What would allow us to level the playing field and, you know, increase our ability to compete on that level? we need to again, change our perspective and our view of sports and live entertainment. And like looking at the United States, which, as I showed in my presentation, you can fit China, India, the United States, and a host of other countries all on the continent. But then I look at how in the New York area alone, there are 71 arenas. But on the continent, there are only 3 that match up to that same standard. So there's a glaring void that needs to be filled. And also when we look at the population in Africa, right now, 1.4 billion people with that limited access to 3 large-scale modern arenas. And then also understanding that where the population growth is going to go in Africa, it's going to have the largest and youngest population on the planet. So if we don't, look at this time as a pivotal moment, looking at this time and making sure we put the necessary infrastructure in place to allow that population growth to become an opportunity instead of a problem. So continually to raise awareness to how we look at sports and live entertainment and ways to mitigate those economic struggles. My message would be to this generation, I would say. Not just young executives or young athletes or doctors. I would say this generation. We have to become good ancestors. Good ancestors by having the vision and the insight to look at this moment as a pivotal moment in Africa's history and making sure we're putting the necessary pieces in place so that the next generation to come is going to be better equipped to amplify and put Africa on the global stage. I said it during my presentation that we have to plant trees whose seed we may never get to see, whose shade we may never get to see. And with that intention, being a part of the launch pad and putting the foundation in place to allow Africa, whether it's in our lifetime or not, to allow Africa to get back on that global stage.